Tom has something, Mike calls me a toddler. When I eat. The off button's actually on the phone. Okay.
You know, we're not videoing them, right?
No, well, YouTube live.
Oh, okay, I got you.
What is wrong with this? There you
Good.
go. Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to start this study session tonight, this Thursday, June 11th, 2024, 6:08 p.m. We don't need a roll call, do we? Okay. We've got 3 items on the agenda. I would say all councilmen are present except for Councilman Terry. I think he's on his way. But we got 3 items. One, review of resolution number 126-18 for submission of safer grant application. Number 2, discussion on bond financing for fire station number 3 and related equipment. And number 3, council consideration of shift work pay for firefighters. So, Chief, I want to let you dig in and get us started.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the chief has asked if we could reverse these, where one
Okay.
become the last and 3 become the first.
All right.
And I said I didn't have any objections. If the council didn't have any objections, we're gonna move 3.
Okay.
'Cause 3 is kind of a more around staffing.
Right.
And,
Okay.
what I'd asked for was, it says shift work.
Yep.
AC and myself had sat with 2 ISO auditors, the only 2 for the state, and they're the ones that kind of give me the idea. And they said in some fire departments that were like ours, one of the best things they had and they could give credit for was people accepting shift work, and there'd be a pay for a shift work. So that's where that come from, and I was just interested in the council's willingness to support something like that. But I'm going to let Stuart go into whatever other staffing, what his ideas on staffing needs.
Okay. Well, let me ask a quick question. Is this, we're talking about shift work, Chief, is this what we're doing now? Your 10-hour shift, is that what you're talking about? The 10-hour shifts? Or no?
So it's, what I was after is something a little different.
Okay.
The ISO guys said they had both been career guys. They worked for ISO, Insurance Service Audit. And then they said they're both on paid per call and volunteer fire departments in central Arkansas. And they said they were having the same troubles we were having with people showing up and all that. And we discussed our shift work. And they said, we actually have had better, he said, we have actually had more people sign up to be on call. And he said, so you would actually sign up for a shift from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. The city would pay you a nominal fee. I don't know what that is. We'd turn that back over to the fire department. $75, $80, something like that. And when you accepted that shift, you guaranteed that you would remain in the city limits. Now, you might be an electrician putting in some work, or you may be mowing your yard or whatever, but if the call come in, you were definitely gonna be there. Now, they kind of went into, it's just like regular employment. I mean, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, school calls and says your kid's throwing up, you have to come do that. Just typical employee stuff. But for the most part, he said they would accept shifts, and then they guaranteed they would be there. So he said that actually worked better than what we were doing, although he said that's interesting. And he said, and also when you have that shift work, when you had that paid per call shift work where you accepted a shift in a time period where you didn't leave town, you got the documentation. And he said, when we come back in a few years, we look at that documentation. And he said that helps your ISO rating. And he said, we'll give you credit for that. So, AC, you were sitting there. Is that about the way you remember it?
Yeah.
Have I said it about right? Did I say it in the way people would understand?
Did he say how many people actually there were per shift? How many do they allow per shift?
He never said how many they allow. And I guess my conversation to y'all is, would we support it and let the fire department figure it out and see if Stuart could do it within his budget, within his current budget? And I was just wondering what your feelings are, but Stuart's got some other staffing questions.
I guess it really boils down to how many people he needs per shift, and then how much you're
How much
willing-
cost?
Yeah, how many people per shift, and then how much is in, how much could he pay per person or per shift?
Those are answers. We didn't get into the details with the ISO guys. The whole time we were having the conversation, I really kind of felt like he was talking about 2 or 3 or 4 people that are accepting, you know, a shift from either 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., saying, without a doubt, I will be there. I will not leave the city limits and be in Fort Smith at Lowe's, or I'll be at my house, or I'll be working around town. He didn't get into those details. I really think if it's something y'all would entertain, and that's all I'm wanting to know, is if it's something you entertain, we're just gonna push it to the fire department and let them come back with the details.
Would somebody who responds also get paid for that call?
Yeah, they get paid for that call.
So you get shift pay and the pay per call?
Yep. So if nothing happened, they still get that $75 for accepting the shift. If something happened, they get the $75 plus whatever the call. What does call pay? What is the call paid for? 30?
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out which month.
So then they would get that plus $30.
Taking shifts.
And who are you talking to?
2 ISO auditors for the state of Arkansas. One did the east side of the state and one did the west side of the state. And it really wasn't just exactly east and west. They kind of had it cut at a diagonal. One was ours, the other one was for the other part of the state.
Okay.
They were just saying it worked in situations like ours. It's something to think about.
Question then, how many would you need on per shift? Would you need 3 to 4, Lance? You're not,
There we go.
yeah.
Okay. Council, I'm sorry I'm not up there, but I wanted to go through here so we could put. You'll look at your very first page of all the stuff I gave you up there. You'll see our incidents. Basically, that's 2024 current. And this year, we're averaging 36% zero. And you can see the others, last year it's 37.9%, in 2024 it's 32. And so I would say we might even go over that 37.9%. And you're wondering, well, what does that mean? Why is that happening? The reason we're having zeros, and a lot of these are at nighttime or on weekends, has to do with availability, not wanting to be paid to go, not how much we're paying them, but them be actually physically in Greenwood to go to the call. They're either on their job and their job will not allow them to leave, which is something that back in the 1980s and 70s, everyone worked in town. You had Spud Mitchell that worked for one company. You had my dad that had his own company. You had the guys that worked at the bank. You had the guys that worked at the grocery store. It was just everybody was close and local. People that worked at Greenwood Fixture were allowed to leave. Everyone was allowed to leave. Now we're hiring people. The only people allowed to leave are the people that own their own business. But the problem is people that own their own business, like Rod or Lance or several, they may be at work at Lake Ouachita. They may be in Fort Smith.
Wait, are you working at Lake Ouachita?
They may, yeah, I might be working. Yeah. But we don't have that many. And so the new guys that we're taking on, they may work for ABF, USA Truck, State Highway Department, all places to where when they are at work are not allowing them to leave unless they are home. We even have a couple that work at home that they count how many punches they do on their computer, so they can't leave. And if they do, I've had one leave and say, I got to get back because my lunch break is almost over. And so they'll lose their job if they leave. And so that wasn't the problem in the past. You had people that worked with them. One thing that we've tried to push, and haven't really got very far on it, is try to make it statewide where volunteer firefighters are considered like military, and you don't have a choice when someone goes to work for you. But getting our legislators to push that, it's going to be kind of tough because they're going to have a lot of kickback from companies saying no, or that person's just not going to hire somebody that's a volunteer firefighter because they know they'll have to be able to leave. But it has everything to do with availability, and I can definitely see we have one or two guys that when they are not in town, we have quite a few zeros, just because they make the majority of the medical calls. One of the new SOGs over her standard guidelines or what is that, a protocol, I guess, over at EMS, is they have 2 ALS units. They're 24/7. You know, we all pay taxes for those 2 ALS units every year out of our taxes. If there is one unit that's gone, I understand where it's coming from, but if there's one unit that's gone, and there is a lift help call, a priority 4, no matter where it's at in the county, that second unit will not leave the station until the other unit's back. So they're paging first responders throughout the county to go help with those lift helps. And when the other unit gets back, or if they have 2 units, one unit will go to the lift help. But if one unit's gone, the other one sits right there. And so we have to go to those lift helps. And if we had 2 full-time guys over here, there would be no problem with that. The problem is when you get that lift help call, and we see it's the same place that we've been 20 times, and that wife says, "Are you really going to leave whatever they're doing and go down there to do that?" Especially when they're not even in town, or if they're over at the ball clubs. But by the time they get out to their car, and they get in their car from a baseball game, and they get down there, that the person's been there for 30 minutes. A lot of times our police officers have already been there to help lift up. The other day I had one of the officers help me on a lift help. It wasn't bad, but we had some lift help. Right now I can't do anything because I don't know I've done something to my shoulder. And so I've told the guys I'm kind of off for a couple of days because I hope I haven't done something bad. But a lot of these calls have to do with lifting up. The other problem with that is when we get there, we find more than just lift help sometimes. We find that they've had something either broke, something bleeding, and that's all well. I mean, we'll take care of that, but we're not the advanced life support unit. We're there as their backup, and the more calls that they have where they're not going to, and we have guys not available, you're seeing zeros for our community where people are wondering, what the heck am I paying for? You know, go ahead. Yes, Steve.
Okay, so you're talking about this, and I'm gonna retain 5%.
Okay.
It'd be good if we could get this in the form of a proposal that itemizes the things, the considerations that we need to reflect on.
Yeah.
Because we'll forget most of them. I mean, this is just too much
Yeah.
information for us.
Well, that's why I wanted to do a study session so we could discuss some of the issues.
But I'm just saying, when you come in, have something that we can look at and take with us. Study session is good. We've got some big topics. But I would like to see a proposal to, how many people you would want per shift, how it compares to the budget. Stuff that we can take with, absorb it, and ask you questions as time goes on.
Okay. Well, we, right now, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you, you've got the percentage of no-shows there. I'm assuming because Rescue EMS is the largest incidence out of those
That's
events, that most of those no-shows are that.
I went through it when I was going through looking at them. There's a couple of those that they were paged out on the medical side of, and they were a car accident, but they were only paged through the medical side. They never made it through the fire side, or they would have at least been responded to, because we probably have, 5 or 6 guys that don't do medical at all that would respond to that. I was looking here, what Rod was bringing up, we have 9 of our 25 that don't live in the city limits. So it's gonna be kinda hard for them to respond quickly when they live in Mount Zion or over on the other side of Excelsior. And we're having to allow that so we can keep people here. Unfortunately, our firefighters can't find a place with an acre and a house inside town that they can afford, so they end up buying outside the city limits, even though it's within the mile radius. They'll buy out there in that area, and that, unfortunately, unless they're coming down and working a shift, takes them out of response area. Takes them a long way, unless it's a structure fire or a car fire or a car accident. But if it's a cardiac arrest, I mean, or somebody that's bleeding, choking, we need someone here
Chief,
locally.
Sorry to interrupt you. And this doesn't help you with your recruiting, because I know it's just a tighter squeeze or whatever you want to call it. What's your requirements, if any? I assume you have some requirements for your guys to make certain amount of calls. What does that look like?
We've never put a number you have to make. Basically, if you go through, the guys make the majority of the fire calls. On the medical calls, I've gotten a lot of burnout, and then I've got a lot of guys that have let their medical side go because they don't have time to do the medical. And so
What do you mean they don't have time?
they don't have time to do a medical call. It's different than a fire call, different training, different all the way around. I mean,
You know how I stand.
Yeah.
And this is just half a cent worth of whatever it's worth. You need more, you need some people, you need some bodies.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and again, it's not gonna help you necessarily with, yep,
Well, I'm just gonna comment.
yep,
Maybe this will help clear it. The problem, Mayor, with the response, and I get a different feedback from the guys that he does.
yep,
I'm just gonna tell you straight up.
sure.
And at the end of the day, a lot of the problem is, and you think about it, we got staff handling system sitting right over here.
Mhm.
And this is where Chief and I differ. And we've had, me and him have had this conversation face to face, and I'm not being pro-medical because we're not staffed for that. We're
Right.
at 131 calls this month for the last 30 days. So,
Yep.
you think me and Mike can both got prominent business that we have to run. Well, I can't cut off here today to go for a fall. Well, you got it. See, we got one, I don't know, 4 or 5 paramedics on our department. They hanging it down at their real job.
Right.
So when they get here, last thing they wanna do is go to a fall. It's not that they don't want to, it's just, it's sort of on the line, they have to have a life besides,
No, I get it, yeah.
besides their real job and the city or the fire department. It's not that we don't wanna respond to the medical calls, but myself included, I'll just tell you how I feel about it. I'm paying taxes out the wazoo for them over there, and for them to pass the buck to us for falls.
Oh,
When they know we're not staffed, but we do such a good job at what we do,
Yeah,
even with a few zeros,
they're gonna let you do it.
they're gonna let us do it.
Sure.
So until we make a believer out of them,
Yeah,
or get some staffing,
yeah.
then we're never gonna fix that.
No, I totally, and I knew of that, I knew, Chief and I have talked about that before, of how that works over there and why, and I don't know why they do it. And I think that's still up in the air, I don't know.
Well-
That needs to be
3 o'clock in the
fixed,
morning, just prime example, you guys sitting up there, here with the fire department, 3 o'clock in the morning, paper goes off,
yeah,
for the same address that you've heard 13 times
Right.
that month, are you gonna get out of bed for $30?
you mean answer that honestly? If I signed up for it, I would.
But that's what I'm saying.
No, I get it. You get burned out.
These two ambulance, full-time ambulance service over here.
I get it. I think that that's the issue, but to answer your question bluntly,
You would have one call, but then as soon as you get home, you get laid in bed, someone's fell, there's another call.
if I signed up for it, I'm doing it.
You say that until you do it.
I,
I'm here,
Exact same way as
I'm
you
here,
do.
I'm
I
here.
did it. I get every.
I signed up to run for mayor, and I've made every single, it's not a fire call, it's not a lift call, but you signed up for it.
I signed up for a job also.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm involved in that.
so
Now
Lance,
you're adding another job.
No, I'm not. You are.
Lance, let me.
That's
let
what
me
I'm saying. That was your choice.
ask This address.
And you need people.
Are
Don't
they
get me
not
wrong.
required to have,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
CNA, LN, somebody there on staff at that address?
There's some of those addresses, Ralph, that yes, and I've even made the
I'm talking about the one that you're repeatedly
That's
going
what
to.
I'm talking about, and I've even made the comment. I
Can
mean,
they not help with,
They call for lack of better words, stuff that we shouldn't even be doing.
yeah.
That should be a home health service.
Yeah. And part of that problem is that facility. That's a fact.
But if they're medically trained, medically certified, they should be doing they should be, in all honesty.
Some of the stuff we do, we're glorified babysitters. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Like the address that I gave was that we've been to, I mean, I probably been smacked off at lunch, but I mean, there for a while, it was 3 times a week. Well, shit, it's the same thing.
Well, s-
And even that's, you have to get some help for these people. You know what I'm saying? Because we're tying up emergency services and spending good money for us to go out there and pick them up out of the floor, and then 10 minutes later, we're back out there. You know, so some of that stuff it's a, you know what I'm saying? It's a balance on, is it really a call, or is it just because you can't afford to get, or you're something with some home health services? Because there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unreal, like.
But even if it,
Let's go get chief, we went on a call that this poor lady, God love rest her soul, she needed help. But it wasn't the help, we wasn't the help she needed.
Right.
But that was the way out, was, hey, I'm gonna call 911 and I'm gonna get somebody over because she needed help. And so, and then this is, me and Chief talked about this today. We got guys that work, we got guys that respond, just don't like to do it by themselves. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, or even during the day. One, because you never know what you're gonna get into. 2, you don't know how big this person is, you really lift up, I mean, hell, I can't pick them up, you know, everybody. And then 3, the liability of it. You know, well, something got stole, or some lady, well, he touched me, well, you know, I mean, it's just never ending, and so those guys are put in a position to where it's not that they're scared to do it, it's just, and we don't have the 100%, advanced medical training that they got over there, so that's why we're only limited to what we can do, so we're filling the gap for them when the time comes, but we're only limited to what we can do. Half the time we're there, and we're waiting on either Fort Smith to come down, or Sebastian County, you know, if they're busy, we're sitting there babysitting this person. Well, last thing you wanna do is do that by yourself. And that's to what you was gonna say, Roger, as far as the having personnel through this whole thing, and I told him, I said, you know, if we get one, we get one, but 2's ideal for shift work or anything, because if something happens, I mean, hell, I could have a stroke, freaking doing CPR, you know, I mean, so,
I had one of those. They're not even.
yeah, I mean, it goes on and on,
Yeah.
but the fire service is a team deal, and and if you get one person on shift, and I've told him, it's a liability, the way I look at it. You know, first of all, if you're gonna run a fire truck, you can't pull a hose by yourself. I mean, the dream of all dreams would be 3. To your question, I mean, that would be the dream of all dreams. You pull up any fire department that's minimally staffed, and they have 3 people in trouble.
right,
So,
What's the likelihood, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
what's the likelihood of getting anything better over there at the ambulance, specifically to what you're talking about?
they've been asking for years for a 3rd ambulance.
Yeah.
And that would probably solve a lot of problems. It would still, every once in a while, rear its head, like today, I think there was probably 4 calls or 5 calls, seemed like at the same time, 2 in Greenwood. A couple outside of Greenwood going on all at the same time where they would have been very busy. And they do call for their backup unit. And they're not doing it maliciously. They're doing it because they're trying to make sure they're covering those priority ones and twos. We're one of the few departments that has quite a few responders. Most departments out there only have 1 or 2, and they're wearing them out in the county. I don't know how they keep their people going. One of our other one of our other challenges is that we have 12 full-time fire or EMS personnel on the department that work a 24-hour shift. So every 3 days, they're gone a full day. One works at 48 on, 96 off, which kind of helps us because we have him for 4 days, but there's 2 days he's gone. He works up Rogers. So we have 12 people that either work a 24 or one that works at 48. So 12 of our people, let's just say a third of them are out every day. So that drops us from our 26 right now, which at one time we were up to 33. We can't get anybody to apply for the department. So out of that 26, there's going to be at least 3 to 4 guys that aren't available no matter what we do because they're working on a 24-hour shift somewhere. And that's for a full day. So that drops us down to 22 that's available at any time. And as I said, guys that can't leave their jobs, we've had time when we've done things with 4 people, which we've been able to get things done with that. A car accident yesterday, there was 4 of us over there at Coker and 10. And we were able to do that. But took a little time for everybody to get there because one was on the other side of town and I was at the station. I went right there. I have one that lives up the street, so we got there very quickly. But the other one lives out of town on the south side of town. He was able to get there after a few minutes. And where we're at right now, we need 2 people at least in the station 24/7. And everybody else can fill in those gaps and those time periods. And we're just gonna, at some point, we're gonna have to find a way to do that. That will solve the zeros. Do we mind doing lift help? No, that's great PR for our city. You're paying your firefighters, so we're coming out and we're doing that. There's a difference between the person that, as Lance said, or Mike, that's getting up at 3 in the morning after just going on another lift help call and people being paid to do it right here at the station. And it'd be cheaper. I mean, that side of it. Yes, sir.
Okay. From what I've heard, that sounds like a potentially viable option. But, I mean, you've presented lots of good information here. And it may be a good idea. But it's like he said, hand it off to you guys to make this more formal. Let us know that it actually works. Put it on paper and say, here's how it affects the budget. Here's how many people we need per shift. Here's this and that, but we've got some other issues. And we just don't, everybody's made good comments tonight, but we don't have anything to review.
Well, I think,
About this about 20 times, and we keep kicking the can down the
No,
road.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a presentation to us, and I might say next month, or whenever it is, I think we need to do this, but I can't tell yet, because it's not on paper, there's no math.
Mr. Tedford, I think that Tom has put some stuff together for the grant already that shows payment for 2 and for 3 that he's gonna talk about here in a few minutes.
Hey, Stuart, I got a question. So do you worry at all that if you have 2 people full-time at the station, and we're talking about a hybrid fire department here where you got 2 full-time people, do you worry that in the event of a fire or something that people that are volunteer status are like, oh, there's already 2?
Absolutely. And it happens.
Yeah.
Every volunteer, every combination chief I've talked to says you have the ones that you lose because you have full-time staff, but you also have the guys that know somebody's gonna be there and they're wanting to show up too. He said you have a little of both.
Yeah.
He said it's the growing
I can
pains.
see having the benefit of those 2 people down there full-time for the lift calls and, they're the first ones on the truck and out the door, but I also worry that you got the guy that's sitting at home and, 2:00 in the morning, they're like, there's,
I don't think it's gonna be
There's
that way on fires, on the fire call side of it. We get a different page. We got a totally different tone for a fire or medical call.
Okay.
And so a lot of the guys, they'll turn the tone for medicals off and keep the fire on. I cannot control that. Hate to say it, it's just, it's like turning if your wife, you want, yeah.
she turns my tone off.
And that's not uncommon. It's not just us. That's nationwide.
You can't control that?
Absolutely.
Why?
I can't control, because they're
Huh?
volunteers. He can just turn in his gear and walk off, and then what are we stuck with? I mean, I hate to say it, I'm,
Department, you can control it. I don't take this the wrong way, but I don't have to have this. I do this because I care about the city and I want to do it.
Yeah, I know. Nobody's making a lot of money here.
I don't need the money for one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not about that, it's
Yeah.
because I want to. It's because I have a passion for the fire
Right,
department and
right.
emergency services. And I don't go to medical calls, I'll tell you straight up. My passion is the fire department, my passion is rope rescue, I've got what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Medical's not what I'm good, I don't like going in a house that's knee deep in dog shit.
Yeah.
Having to go work on a kid that's living in this, that really, it irritates me and bothers me, so I stay away from that for the department's reason.
Yeah.
Because I run my mouth
Well,
and stuff like that.
the answer you said, and I hadn't thought about it too much, because the first hearing that, you can't control it, that didn't ring well with me, but,
Like you with the parks and the water commission,
right, well, I know, yeah,
okay, same thing.
I know. Good point, thank you.
To your question, what presents to you right now in the infant stage? If you guys are interested in something like this, we'll work on it, we'll get you numbers. If you're not interested at all, we're not gonna go to the trouble of getting all the numbers.
I'm not interested in a large number of zero responses. So if y'all have a better model and I can look at it, I would be interested in it tonight, even though there's not a voting meeting. But I just want to look at something and be able to evaluate it, take it with me, mull it over, and be able to make a decision. So if Tom has some numbers,
That's all we wanna hear. Yeah, you guys are interested,
I think,
go forward with it.
I think that's your cue, Tom.
I think everybody up here wants this to happen,
Yeah.
in my opinion, I can't, yeah.
don't ever misunderstand.
No, absolutely, like you said, it's been kicked down the road,
Right.
Yeah, we've got almost 20 years in it, and it's getting harder every day for us.
Yeah.
Just because of our age. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, me and Mike last truck fire both sit down beside each other and say,
Ne-
God, dang,
neither one of y'all are looking good right now.
we're struggling. Tom, we need this.
Take somebody else down
Good
the
guys
rabbit
on
hole.
the department.
He
Yeah,
was
no,
not.
I know.
Probably the best department I've seen in 20 years.
And they eat well, I can testify.
And the one good thing about it, when you do that, then you all work good together. And if you're happy, then you're gonna work good together.
Mr. Marsh, lay it on us.
First, I want to say, Mr. Powell, I like your twist that you brought up,
What?
the
Three
twist
and one.
that you proposed,
The switch?
the twist
Twist of it. Your twist.
of having a on-call, where they're paid, and then they're paid the normal rate whenever they show up. The city does have on-call right now, just so you know, and it does work for each of the departments that have it, especially for weekend coverage. But there's nothing that says you have to pay them the premium rate when they're not working. You pay them a lower rate, and then when they get called out, the hours they work, it's paid at their regular hourly rate. So that's how it truly works, because while you have to pay them something, and it has to be worth their while, it doesn't have to be a premium high rate, just so you know. And I know you probably know that. So that was not something that's factored into what I'm gonna present to you tonight, but that's the first I've heard of it, and we could probably put some numbers together on an option A to address that, and that might mitigate some of this impact that I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm amenable to listening to that.
And that was a conversation where there's not just one thing, there's several things that play into trying to operate the way we're trying to operate.
Right.
And I've always been one to try to kick the can further down the road. If you look at Fort Smith, they're over there taking a pumper out of Station 11. They're laying people off. They're moving stuff around. They're trying to come up $4 million just out of the fire department. And he's struggling with trying to keep y'all's ISO as low as possible. We don't want to be in that position. We want to, I know as a fireman, we're better off if we can figure out some sort of combination to where we pay the least before we get a full-time army here.
So what you're gonna see tonight is based on a brief conversation that I had with Stuart when we were talking about the presentation for, I wanted to do a pro forma and I wanted to know what his basic needs were and then what the ultimate would be. And 2 and 3 were kicked around, and both of those I have pro formas on. I do want to point out, I am going to be showing you some information. The firefighters here, it's going to be boring to you because you know all of this. But for the council members that are not volunteer or not firemen in any way, shape, or form, this comes right from the NFPA. This is their information. I'm going to present it to you. Just to give you a brief background of what's traditionally out there and where are we in this. So the very first thing, that should be moving. Okay. Let me go up here. All right. It's a 2-hour presentation, so just kidding.
Let's get started then.
Hey, bring it started.
Don't worry, about 15 minutes from now, there will be a call come in and you all will have to leave, So the first thing I want to talk about is the types of fire departments that traditionally are out there, and one of them is the volunteer. Now, technically, we do not have a volunteer one. We have a part-time, volunteer part-time hybrid. The only thing we don't have in that is a career full-time department. So we're kind of in that combination hybrid category. The difference between a volunteer is that, and a career highlights the ways communities protect their citizens for local needs. The thing that I wanted to point out was combination departments bridge the gap with volunteers and career staffing, providing flexibility for communities in transition. And right now, I think we are, let's just say we are the hybrid right now. Because we have the benefits and we have the part-time pay for when they're on call. It's not tradition, they get paid for when they work, basically. That's why I'm interested in the on-call. At the best approach depends on balancing resources, risk levels, and communities' unique needs. That's what NFPA says. They also say, now they have a question and answer section in their propaganda that they have online, and it says, what are the signs that a volunteer department may need to transition to a combination and career department? That's exactly what we're talking about right now, going away from the volunteer and moving into something that's a little more dependable. So most departments, it says if a call after call comes in, but there's only one person who's trained to go into the burning building or drive a truck, not much you can do about those fires, but you know you must do something. Well, that's also medical call. Calls are coming in, no one's responding to them. So now you're starting to think maybe we need to do something different because it isn't working. So most departments that make the transition to from an all volunteer to some level of career simply don't have enough active interior firefighters for a sufficient crew. And that's what I've been hearing so far. They're unable to respond to calls and they're already exhausted after all recruitment and retention strategies. Not sure we've exhausted all of our recruitment and retention strategies, but I know we've tried, and there's efforts out there to try to recruit. Your competition is great, though. You're dealing with Fort Smith, you're dealing with Rogers, you're dealing with a lot of bigger areas that are drawing them for a lot more pay than what you'd get here. As far as if the department is in this situation, how do I go about the transition? So it all starts with planning and communication, and that's the key, planning. We just can't knee-jerk this according to the information that I gleaned from the answer. I highlighted some of the things. It says, it's important that everyone is transparent and set their egos aside to do what's best for the community. That's NFPA's statement, not mine. Together, you will need to decide the best course of action and discuss a timeline, top priorities, and the importance of a consistent communication. You'll also need to determine how the department will be funded and where the funds will come from. And then they talk about the SAFER grant, which is here. Now, SAFER grant is a 3-year slow kill if you don't have long-term funding. Because once you start it, you're at a no man's land now. You ain't going back. Now you're gonna have to, something's gonna have to give, and you're gonna probably have to turn to the taxpayers in order to make that work. Right now, the tax that the fire department gets is for capital. It's, I'm not talking about the county sales tax. That county sales tax is for your staffing side. But you do have a tax, a city sales and use tax for capital and boots and the apparatus and all that stuff. And that's what you use it for. I will tell you that the key to this whole thing is what are you gonna do after the grant's over? You can't, that's huge to me because that's 3 years down the road. They're only 3 years. And then you're 100% having to fund it. And in 3 years, a lot can happen. Now, if the city doesn't grow exponentially in order to generate additional revenue streams, that's a kiss of death right there. So let's go to the next one. Key considerations for a successful transition. It's crucial to conduct a thorough community risk assessment. You've presented some things tonight that I haven't seen, and I knew you probably had because you're putting it together for the SAFER grant now. But that's the start. You need to be looking at, don't rely on gut feelings. I have a feeling for this. No, analyze call volumes, you're doing that. Types of incidents, response times, population density, projected growth. There's the key, the projected growth. That's the unknown right now that we don't have. But if I go back and look at historical, our growth over the last 8 years since I've been here has been pretty much non-existent. In essence, when you look at major leaps and jumps. If you look at the net increase in the services for the water sewer, we're looking at about a 250 household increase, which would equate to, if you multiply it by 2.5 people, that's about a 500 person jump. Over time, that's not sufficient enough, or growing, forget the population side, how about growing your commercial tax base? That's another thing that has to happen. So revenue just doesn't come because prices raise. It tends to be the opposite. Sometimes you'll reach a peak and then people will stop buying things that they think are determined as discretionary. So furthermore, the evidence-based approach helps build trust and ensures